Hi there, I'm Michael Parker with Avid Technology, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about the new M-Audio Venom synthesizer. It's brand new at the show. It's our first M-Audio synthesizer ever, and it's basically a 12-voice virtual analog synthesizer, and it's based on samples of classic analog synths. So it gives you those kind of bread and butter sounds, you know, like the fat basses and the nice pads and leads. But it also gives you a lot of power in the sound design, so you can create some really aggressive, edgy, kind of modern type sounds. Basically, our design philosophy with Venom was to give you a lot of power in the synth engine to create really great sounding sounds, but also to keep it pretty simple and easy to use. So if you want to come right over here, I'll show you the top panel. The M-Audio Venom has a performance control section that gives you access to the 30 most used parameters for performance. And when it's time to get deep into the synthesizer, we also give you a really powerful software editor called Venom, and that lets you access all the parameters of the synth. It lets you save patches, you can rearrange the sound banks, and you can also go online to venomsynth.com starting next week, and you'll be able to trade patches with other Venom users. So I'm also here with Taiho Yamada, who's our synthesizer designer at Avid, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on under the hood with the new M-Audio Venom.
So as Michael said, the oscillators are based on samples, and they're sampled from really classic vintage oscillators. And there are two-letter names, initials to each name of the waveform. Things like MG and OB, and I think if you have experience with synthesizers, you probably figure out what those are. We use samples because you can capture the character of the oscillator very easily that way. But of course, the sample doesn't move around anymore after it's sampled. So we use the rest of our DSP power to reintroduce the life of the analog oscillator. And you can choose not to do that if you don't want to do it either. You can get a very sort of cold digital feel out of Venom as well. And then all of that runs through 12 dB and 24 dB multimode filter. At the beginning of the filter, it has a pre-filter boost parameter. Now there's a tube saturation limiting algorithm at the beginning of the filter that you can overdrive and get really gritty and then filter it down. And then there are three LFOs and 3 envelopes to move the filter around or affect the oscillators or amplitude. The oscillator synthesis functions include things like FM and ring mod and sync, and there's even a wave shaper. And we have a bunch of drum sounds that are sampled as well from classic analog drum machines, and you can use those drum waves as like sync sources or FM sources or ring mod sources as well. So there's a lot of additional options that you don't normally get from normal synthesizer. There are 16 mod routes where you can hook any of the sources up to any of the destinations. It's all your LFOs and envelopes and physical controls. And then in our effects section, we have an insert effect that includes a compressor, a distortion, a reducer effect that includes both bit reducer and decimator at the same time. And then we have 2 bus effects that are reverb and delay. Delay is tempo syncable, and the modulation effect, that is choruses, flangers, phasers. And then all of this comes together in our multimode, where you can stack 4 sounds together at the same time. And each of these parts has an individual arpeggiator, and you can select individual patterns for each arpeggiator. You can mute and unmute the parts, and you can select them for top panel control. And the top panel controls will affect all of the parts at the same time. So you can sweep the filter on everything at once. Like if you have a drums and a bass line and a lead line and an arpeggio happening, you can sweep the filter on everything, or you can add FM to everything, or ring mod everything. All right, sure, yeah. show you multi-mode, where all the sounds can be layered together. You have 4 parts that have independent arpeggiators, and I'm going to use the performance control section to tweak all the parts at once. And you have 6 rows on the performance control section. There's a filter row, there's an oscillator row that does FM and ring mod, there's a filter envelope row, there's an amplitude envelope row, there's an LFO row, and then a channel strip row that does things like volume pan and the effect send levels. So I'm going to latch the arpeggiators and play a chord, and then I'm going to start tweaking the knobs on this multi-sound. So another thing that you can do in multi-mode is change the patterns that the arpeggiators are playing. And there's a deferred load on the pattern change, so it waits until the next measure boundary before it kicks in, so everything remains musical and playable. So I'm going to again latch the arpeggiator and play a chord, and then I'm going to start changing patterns on the different parts. So that's a little bit about how Venom sounds in multi-mode. Go check it out, play it, it's a lot of fun.
So Venom is available today, and it's available at a street price of $500 US, $599 US MSRP. So go check out Venom. You can hear sound samples at maudio.com/Venom.